I went around and collected a bunch of makeup in this container for this video because today we are finally going to be covering my top 3 products in every category. Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Kristina, and as I said, we are going to be covering all of my top 3 picks of every category when it comes to makeup. And today we'll be talking about all of my high-end picks, and in the following video, I will be covering all of my top 3 drugstore picks. My hope with this video is that it serves as kind of a tool for you guys when you're looking for my top recommendations, because these are going to be my tried and true products that consistently withstand the test of time and continue to impress me. So recently I've been keeping my skincare routine as consistent as possible, and I've been loving the way that my skin has been looking with and without makeup. And to start this video off, I want to share 3 standout skincare products with you guys from today's sponsor, Mimwa. So Mimwa is a Korean skincare brand that champions an effective blend of ingredients within each product, allowing for maximum efficacy. And as you guys know, my main goal with my skin these days is decreasing my hyperpigmentation, keeping my skin clear, and being proactive about keeping my skin plump. The first product I want to talk about, the Niacindy Dark Spot Ampule. This one has been great for pinpoint hyperpigmentation treatments. This contains 10% niacinamide, 9 peptides, NAD+, and thiotic acid. And while thiotic acid is not well known outside of Korea just yet, it is said to be 400 times stronger than vitamin C. And this ampule has this like gel texture that dries down, and it's really easy to layer with other products. And I really love that I can just concentrate it in exactly where I need it. And when I'm looking for all over brightness and radiance, I reach for this radiance cream. It has the same exact concentration of active ingredients as the ampule, but this has that added benefit of being a moisturizer. I've really been loving this one before bed because it keeps my skin really soft and hydrated for long periods of time, and right before my makeup to give me a hydrated canvas. And lastly, the Volume Up Time Block Serum. So this has volufiline, which if you're not familiar, this boosts fat cell differentiation in the dermis, which then plumps skin from the inside out. And I have found this especially effective on the fine lines and wrinkles I have forming kind of down my neck. Volufiline works best at a concentration of 5%, which is what this serum contains. And because I am acne prone, I'm always looking for compatible products for my skin. And because this has 40% beta glucan, it hydrates with no known side effects, and it's suitable for even the most sensitive skin. So I have been loving these products to keep my skin looking the best before makeup and just in general. And as always, I will have these linked down below for you guys if you would like to check them out. I know not everyone loves a primer, but I wanted to talk about the ones I personally think really make a difference. I talked about this in my most used makeup video, but the Merit Priming Moisturizer. This one is a primer moisturizer hybrid, as the name suggests. It's hydrating without being too thick, and it absorbs into the skin, so you have that nice slip to the skin that you get from a moisturizer, but you don't have that heavy feeling that you may get if you have oily skin like I do. My next one I actually haven't spoken about in a really long time. This is the Glow Recipe Dewdrop, and this is just the sun glow, but maybe it's a super hot day, maybe we're in the middle of summer, and I just cannot think about wearing a hydrating moisturizer on my skin on top of all my other skincare. This is what I'm reaching for. This absorbs into the skin. It does give a slight bronze, but really it's not much at all. I just happen to have this one on hand, so this is the one that I'm using. I didn't really like this as a skincare product, but I love it as a face primer because it really gives you that slip that I'm typically looking for, and it makes it so much easier to put complexion products on. The Danessa Myricks Blurring Balm. I love this for a primer, especially for those of you that may have oily skin. It has Upsolite, which helps with the oils that you produce throughout the day. It kind of eats up the oils as the day progresses. It's very, very interesting to me, and I actually feel like it does do that. It doesn't feel thick and sticky. It absorbs into the skin as well. If you're getting oily throughout the day, take your little sponge that you use, dab it on there, and dab it anywhere you're getting oily, and it'll completely just suck up all the oils. It's incredible. My top 3 picks for color correctors. I'm not going to go on and on about this because at this point it's a script. The Sigma Color Corrector Duo. This is my go-to. I've gone through multiple of these. I think it's the perfect perfect texture, the perfect tones to just cover up anything that I'm trying to cover in terms of color correcting. And my second most favorite, the MPH Beauty, what is this technically called? Underpainting Face Palette. Now this has one technically color corrector in it. You can kind of mix it in with the concealer shades to just customize it to all of the areas of your face. Not everything on my face that I need color correcting is going to work with one specific color. So for instance, if I'm trying to color correct my under eyes, I may need something a bit brighter than if I'm trying to color correct something on my forehead. It's a little bit on the drier side, but there's enough slip to where you can blend it on the skin, but it stays in place as you put things on top of it. Then the last color corrector isn't necessarily a color corrector. However, I have been using it that way, and it is the Natasha Denona concealer. I know that there are color corrector shades within this line, but I had purchased this concealer thinking it would be a match for my skin. And when I got it, it was way too warm, way too peachy. But come to find out, this is one of my most favorite color correctors because it corrects, since it is a neutral peach shade, it has a lot of peachy warmth to it, and it gives me coverage. So it kind of gives me a boost of concealing before I go in with a concealer that essentially matches my skin. Now moving on to concealers. I have actually 4 top concealers. I could not narrow it down. The first one, not a surprise to anyone. Again, I'm not going to go on and on, but the Kulfi concealer, this is my perfect concealer in a tube. I really do feel like this is like one of the most universal concealers out there. And then we have the Haus Labs concealer. This one I think is a little bit more polarizing for people. As someone with oily skin, I do find that this just sits incredible on my skin. It's definitely more of a thick texture when it comes to concealers. I think that this gives the perfect natural skin finish, so it doesn't look overly shiny, it doesn't look overly matte on myself. It's also really nice if maybe I go in with a more shiny, more dewy complexion product and I want something to give me coverage but also sort of tone down the look of that. This will also do that because it does have that skin-like finish. My third top concealer is the Natasha Denona concealer. Now this one, when I first got it, I was not sure because again, I didn't get the correct shade match. But once I got this one in N9, oh my goodness, completely changed my mind. This somehow is serum-y but thick enough to where it holds on to that pigmentation, but it blends really well and it dries down to like something that looks seamless on the skin. It also works really, really well as my one and done complexion product if I want to skip foundation. And that leads me to my 4th makeup product in concealer category, which is Tower 28's Swipe Concealer. This has become very quickly my favorite one and done all over concealer. If I want to skip my foundation, this one is incredible for that because it does give you a little bit more shine to the skin, a little bit more hydration than the other 3 concealers that we've talked about. However, it's really easy to powder it down. It doesn't get goopy. It doesn't like get greasy underneath powders. And you can really sheer this out to where it just looks like you have incredible skin. When it comes to skin tints, they are ones that I'm looking for if I want light medium coverage. And then with foundations, I'm going more for a foundation if I want more medium high coverage. So my foundation picks are definitely going to be on the higher coverage side of things, starting with one that I've talked on and on about, the Haus Labs Triclone Skin Tech Foundation. The texture again is going to be that natural skin finish similar to the concealer, and when I wear this, my skin just looks airbrushed and flawless, and I feel like I don't have to go in with so much concealer, so much powder to make up for, you know, getting that very blurred looking skin, because this one kind of gives me that just in this product. So anything I do on top of it, it's just kind of to enhance what this is already doing to my skin. My second foundation is Natasha Denona's High Glam Foundation. I'm just now realizing that the Haus Labs foundation and concealer and Natasha foundation and concealer are all tops. But anyways, this is very, very skin-like. I have it on today, but it does give you a ton of coverage. Also, they do say that once you apply this onto the skin and you get the coverage that you want, to wait 15 minutes to let this dry down to get like the most impact from it. However, I don't find that that's too necessary, or if I want to try to give it more time to dry down, I will go in, do my eyes, do my brows, whatever. That's usually enough time for me to feel like, okay, this is looking really good. I would classify this as having high coverage. I can get medium high to high coverage if I build it up, but I like this because it's so versatile. I can use this on an everyday basis with a very light amount if I'm putting it on with something like a sponge, or if I want full glam and I want to get the most coverage out of it, then I can use it with a brush. If you like the Armani Luminous Silk Foundation, the original one, this acts very similarly, except I feel like this feels lighter and more serum like on the skin, but it has the same longevity and same like perfected look on the skin. And my last pick is going to be the Dior Skin Tint Stick. It does have a floral scent to it. I don't think that's necessary. I can look past that because this formula is so nice. So it does go on very thin for a stick complexion product. I would say that this has more of a satin matte finish, so I feel like I don't have to wear as much powder whenever I'm using this. It layers really well with other complexion products. It gives you that soft focus airbrush look in person and as well on camera if you guys care about that part, and it lasts all day. That satin matte finish really does start off looking so soft and diffused and beautiful on the skin, and as it wears and my oils start producing throughout the day, it still looks really good. Like, it holds its integrity. Even though I'm oily, I don't look like a grease ball when I'm wearing this one. Now we're going into skin tint territory. So this is one I just cannot stop talking about, the Makeup Forever Skin Boost. I've done a number on this. I think that this is probably more than halfway finished at this point. While it is that skin tint, it does have high coverage without being too greasy, because I find with skin tints, they typically are going to be more on the light medium coverage side of things, but this one just gives you a good punch of pigment and coverage right off the bat, so you don't feel like you have to layer and layer the product on top. It does set down really well with powder, and it wears really well throughout the day. And then the next skin tint, of course, the CL Tint and Protect. It is a mineral sunscreen that has really incredible coverage. I'm saying this is probably a good medium coverage, and not for a skin tint, as a complexion product as a whole. It has a dropper here, which in my experience has been the only dropper complexion product that has actually worked. If I'm looking for something to give me that skincare look where it just looks like my skin has really good skincare, my skin looks enhanced, it's great for those really light makeup days if I don't even want to powder, or if I want to do very light dustings. But you can also wear this when you want to wear a full face of makeup. I've done it both ways. It looks incredible either way that you wear it. I love the packaging of that. And lastly, the Laura Mercier Tinted Moisture Blurred Matte. And this one definitely has medium coverage, and it does dry down to more of a matte finish, which I think is a little bit more rare when it comes to a skin tint, because typically they are more dewy, they are more skin-like. As I wear this throughout the day, my oils do come through and it doesn't end up looking too flat. It definitely gives you the feeling of a skin tint while also giving you the look of more of a foundation, you know? So if you're someone that doesn't like the feeling of makeup or like a full face of foundation, but you still want the coverage of it, maybe something like this from Laura Mercier would be a really good option for you. Now let's talk about loose powders. This is a very important category for me because, again, I am oily. Sometimes I like to overly powder and get overly matte whenever I'm doing my makeup to begin with, because I know in an hour or two my skin will start looking, or my makeup will start looking exactly how I want it to. The first one is the Laura Mercier translucent powder, and I have been using this for so long I actually cannot believe that there's still powder in here, but this is going to be a very finely milled powder that doesn't make my skin look gray. Sometimes with translucent powders, they still tend to have a little bit of a tint to them, and because I am a neutral undertone but I lean slightly warm, powders that have a little bit too much white can look a bit gray, and I don't ever find that with this. It never looks cakey, it never like bunches up on the skin. And then my second top product is the Huda loose powder in the shade Banana Bread. I kind of like seesaw back and forth between Banana Bread and Peach Pie, just depending on what my complexion is at. It's great for baking, but also if you wanted to use this just to dust on the skin, you really don't have to use a lot in order to get your skin matte. perfect. This is definitely way more heavy duty than the Laura Mercier one. So if you know that you need your skin to stay powdered, stay matte for a long period of time, I would say that this is the one that I just gravitate towards. And I really love the duality of this, that you can bake with it, but you can also just use it as a light dusting powder. And same thing kind of goes with the one size. This one is the newer one of the three, but it's not new to me, and it's still definitely a favorite. And it has that flip top, so it's nice because it doesn't get as messy and dirty and stuff. I love this for more of a heavy baking day. I used it today, and when I say that I bake my face, I'm not baking it the same way I did when I was in my 20s. I am turning 33 this year, so the way that I bake my face is a lot lighter than I ever used to do it, but I can still use this product because if I go in with a really light layer of baking and then immediately brush it away, it still gives me that mattified look, it still gives me that airbrush look, and it's going to stay that way for hours and hours. Now we're moving on to finishing powders. If you have oily skin, this is just as important, if not more important, than your loose powder, because this is kind of what is going to be what makes your skin texture look the way it is and the longevity of your makeup. So I have two in front of me, one that I completely finished up. The first one, which I don't have in front of me, is the Laura Mercier pressed powder. So this one I had in the translucent shade. I had this in my project pan. I felt like it blurred the skin. It made it look completely airbrushed. It never looked heavy. It didn't cling on to the oils, and it was really, really versatile, which again is really important for me. I could use it under my loose powders and on top, and I could use it as a touch-up powder. It was really just the trifecta of finishing powders that I was looking for, and something that also goes into that category is the Kosas. I think that's how you say it. People have been saying like, you're saying it wrong. But this is the Kosas finishing powder. This one is going to be a baked formula, so it gives you even more of an airbrushed punch that other finishing powders may not give you, because this goes on so softly on the skin. It's really, really hard to go overboard with this one. I find that if I want my pores and my texture to just completely disappear, this is going to be the one that I reach for, especially because it almost looks undetectable on top of everything else. What I like to do throughout the day is I will take my damp sponge, just sponge off all of my excess oil, and then I'll go back in with this to touch up, and my face looks pretty much brand new when it comes to my makeup. So it looks really, really nice. And then the last finishing powder I have is actually the Fenty brightening powder. Now this one I wouldn't say is as versatile as the other two, because this is going to be the banana shade. So I find that this one works the best and only well under my eyes, because if I put it anywhere else on my skin, since I am a neutral tone, it can lean slightly too warm, but under the eyes, it sort of neutralizes everything underneath my eyes, and it preps it for a translucent loose powder, because there's way less of a chance of my translucent loose powder going gray on me, because I have a little bit of the yellow going on underneath it. I much prefer the brightening powder over just the translucent one in this line. For some reason, this one just seems more blurring. I don't know if it's because it does have that tint to it, but it works really well under the eyes to set down my concealer before loose powder, as well as a light dusting on top of my loose powders. So my brow products really don't change all too much. So you guys have heard me talk about all of these in different perspectives, different angles, different points of using them. So we're just gonna kind of list these off right now. The Rare Beauty Flexible Brow Gel, my favorite liquid gel brow gel that there is. It holds my brows in place without getting crunchy. My Kosas Brow Pop Nano in brown black. This one I think is the perfect size for getting between my actual brow hairs. It doesn't ever look muddy. It doesn't deposit too much product, and the spoolie is very usable. And one that I feel like I've only touched on a couple of times, but I'm really, really finding that this is like becoming a game changer for me, is the Anastasia Brow Pen. pen. It does have a very fine pinpoint brush. It is probably the skinniest, most precise pinpoint brush of a brow pen that I've found thus far. I think that it just allows the ink to come through it without having too much come out at one time. It never skips, it never bleeds, and it also has the spoolie on the other end. When it comes to brow pens, sometimes, you know, if that stroke is a little bit too dark, then using this to brush it out and sort of fading it out into the brows is so useful. Those are definitely my top 3 brow products for sure. I did find it was necessary for eyeshadows to kind of split these up into subcategories as I was trying to figure out my top 3s. First, we're going to talk about palettes, and my first palette is going to be the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes original palette. Now, they actually just announced that this is going to be a permanent fixture within their line, which finally, you guys, I'm really hoping that the formula is the exact same though. We will see when people start getting their hands on it. I love that they're kind of this baseless shimmer to them, so they look like they're sparkly and wet on the eyes. The mattes blend really nicely, and while they look a bit more neutral, cool in the pan, they translate slightly warmer on my skin tone, which I really appreciate, because when it comes to more cool toned shades, they can turn a little gray on me, but this does not do that, and it's never let me down. The Surratt Beyond Beige eyeshadow quad. Now, I did talk about this in my most used makeup video. Someone mentioned like this is way too expensive, and I totally agree with you. It is so expensive, especially for a quad, but I'm telling you, for the amount of times that I've used this has paid for itself in tenfold. It is so easy to use. It's buttery, it's soft, it's airbrush. My looks never look muddy on the eyes, and you can use all of these by themselves with each other. So many looks out of just 4 eyeshadows. If this just disappeared or broke, I would buy it in a heartbeat at this point. And then in here, this is a Salt New York palette, but I put my Depotted Natasha Denona Face Glam palette in here. I had this in my collection for such a long time before I pulled it out and added it to my project pan, and since then I have not been able to get enough, and it has actually gotten me to want to reach for my other Natasha Denona palettes, which is perfect because those are so expensive. They should not be just sitting there. But anyways, this one is great because it is more warm leaning, which is what I tend to gravitate towards for my eyeshadows. It has these beautiful, more creamy metallic sheens, and then the mattes. The mattes are so soft and buttery. They're super pigmented, but they're not scary because they're easy to blend. Now we're going to be talking about individual eyeshadows. The first one I want to talk about are the Hourglass Scattered Lights. These have been out for a very long time, but I still think that they reign supreme. You can wear these alone. You can wear them paired with matte shadows or just really any other shadow. It does have this stopper because these are not pressed completely down. They give you a shine. They give you like this wet eye look, and you can build them up. You can wear them sheer. There's so much versatility to these, and they last forever. These are probably some of the longest standing eyeshadows that I have within my collection. The shade Ray is my go-to if you have a complexion similar to mine and you're looking for something that really gives you that wet eye effect. Ray is going to be your go-to for sure. Of course, I have to talk about the Kulfi Zari Eyes. Sona Sona and Bronze Brocade are my 2 most used shades, and they are very different in terms of texture. While Bronze Brocade comes off a little bit more metallic, more of a sheen shade, Sona Sona is going to be more of a chunky glitter that you can also blend out and build up. I have it on the eyes today. The texture of these are really what make them stand out, aside from the actual shades that they come out with that I think are very perfect. I love that these are going to be more moussey when you first apply them, but then as they dry down onto the lids, if you do a thin layer, they really stay all day. You do kind of risk them getting a bit thick. That's never really happened to me because they have such high pigmentation to begin with. And then of course, my Armani eye tints, my favorite shades are 25M, which I believe is sandalwood, and then 69S, which I can't remember what that is, but it's sort of this like like bronzy metallic shade. And these are great paired together, paired with other shades, or by themselves. They give you a lot of blend time, but they look soft and they look very natural on the eyes. They don't look dry, they don't look crepey. A couple of liquid and stick eyeshadow products. The Danessa Myricks Color Fix sticks. I have not stopped reaching for these since I purchased them, and they all have a metallic side and then a foil side. They magnetize, you can take them apart. You guys know the whole spiel. I find that for things that, you know, are sold at Sephora, these are definitely more on the unique side, which we shouldn't be surprised because they are coming from Danessa Myricks. These definitely give you really high impact with very minimal effort. You can easily swipe these on, pair them together, wear them separately, however you want, but any way that you wear them, it looks like you spent so much time on your eyeshadow when you definitely did not. It does have that cooling sensation. I know that some people have had issues with the cooling sensation. I personally have not had any problems with it. A liquid eyeshadow that really is impressive. These Violette FR U paints, they don't get talked about often. I think it's because Violette brand is only available at certain locations when it comes to Sephora, but truly this one, I can't say the name, but it's like this beetle green shade, has been one of my most favorite pops of colors to wear. So they do dry a little bit fast, but a little tiny bit goes a very long way. You really don't have to use a lot of this whenever you're using it, so it makes it difficult to mess it up. You know what I'm saying? These definitely are budge proof. I love to do a pop of color on my inner corner, and this definitely takes the cake when it comes to something that's like a jewel tone. It just looks so good. And then my third favorite, the Half Magic. I don't know if this is high-end luxury, but it is more on the pricey side, so I wanted to include it here. This one that I have is in the shade Beige Mystique, and it's kind of like that chunky glitter in a stick, but what's really incredible about this is that it actually dries down and it stays put throughout the day, and it has such high impact. And I always reach for this when I'm feeling like my eyeshadow look is just a little lackluster. I want it to pop a little bit more. I'm craving something shiny and glittery and sparkly and eye-catching, and it's always going to be this. I love that the beige in this is sort of a neutral tone, so I can wear it with cool tone makeup looks and warm tone makeup looks. Once I find something that I like, I will use it over and over and over again when it comes to mascaras. I do have very straight, stubborn Asian lashes, so I need something that's going to hold my curl, which is why I'm always priming my lashes with my Heroin Make Advanced Film Long and Curl Mascara. Typically, I'll wear that one, let it dry down completely, and then I will go over top with my top 3 mascaras. The first one, of course, is the Kulfi Buddy Mascara. This one gives me length, volume, definition. It's what I'm wearing today. If I want something that has high impact, this will give me the drama that I typically would want from false lashes, but I don't want to wear false lashes. It's quite easy to work with, and because it is a tubing mascara, there's absolutely no smudging when I wear that one. Same thing goes with the Urban Decay Tube Job. This has quickly become a top 3 because, like I said, I'm a creature of habit. I don't have a lot of favorite mascaras, but this truly is the equivalent to the Kulfi Buddy Mascara in terms of performance, but instead of volume being its main feature, it's definition. This brush gives you a lot of precision. They're shorter bristles, so you can really get into those lashes. It doesn't deposit too much product. I was very pleasantly surprised by this. And because it is tubing, it lasts all day, doesn't smudge, doesn't flake, none of that. And the last one is another tubing mascara. I guess I love them if I can get them to hold my curl, which I have found I can do when I prime my lashes, but this is the Persona tubing mascara, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about this one. The brush on this is a little bit more difficult. It is easy to kind of go overboard with putting too much product onto the lashes at once, but once you kind of brush off the excess and you work this into the lashes, it gives you so much volume, so much length, and it again won't smudge, won't flake. If I'm not already picky about mascaras, I'm more picky about eyeliners. I only picked out 2 because while I do think that there are a ton of really good eyeliners, there's not a third one that I felt like really stood out to me, at least not right now. I'm probably gonna look back at this video and be like, Girl, why didn't you add that? But I'm just gonna talk about two today. So Makeup by Mario Perfect Liner. I have a soft brown on today. I also own Plum. I also own the blue one. I have multiple of these. I love the traditional pencil liner, and I love especially that this one is nice and creamy. I can't get over the brush on this side. It's actually usable. It's actually perfect for diffusing out your winged liner. And then a brightening liner, the Surratt liner. I talked about this one in our most used makeup video. It looks beige within the eyeliner pencil, but when you get this on the waterline, it looks bright and awake, at least on my complexion. It doesn't look too stark white, too like obvious that there's something in your waterline. It just really brightens and wakes up the face. I did split up our blushes. I did powder and I did cream / liquids. Starting with our powders, of course, Haus Labs Fire Moon blush. This texture, this formula is really unbeatable. It is so buttery smooth on the skin. It has high impact coverage, but you can still build this up. You can diffuse it. This has truly been one of the blushes within my collection that has made me love blush. The Kosas Blush is Life. I love that these are a baked formula because they feel like they're easier to wear. So as you can see, they have these like marbles in it, so it makes the blush just look even more dimensional on top of having that airbrush look that you typically get from a baked blush. These are very pigmented though, so definitely go in with your brush, tap it off, and then put it onto the face. When you get it on the skin, it somehow transforms and like melts in and just looks like this glow from within. And same thing goes with our third pick, the Ilia Soft Focus Blurring Blush, specifically in the shade Breathless, which is the one I'm wearing today. And I really couldn't explain this any better than what the description says. This says that it diffuses pores and textures with a blurred dimensional finish. It has light filtering powders that blend and build seamlessly, and it's supposed to hydrate and smooth the skin over time with skincare ingredients. I'm not so much interested in the skincare ingredients, to be honest with you guys. When I'm using makeup, I'm using it for the makeup aspect of it, but I do feel like this is pore blurring, soft focused finish. It almost looks like looking at your skin through a veil. It's so beautiful. It's very difficult to go overboard with this one because it builds so slowly, and I think that that definitely is one of its strong suits. The cream blush that has really become like a heavy hitter in my collection, the Glossé Plush Blush. I love the bouncy texture of these. I think that this really solves the problem of powder blushes looking powdery because it's not a powder, but it applies so easily. It applies just like a powder, but it has the blendability of a cream, which I think makes them so unique and so like easy to just want to reach for all the time. And then the Ciel Blush and Tint. This has the added benefit of having SPF in it, and again, while I wouldn't necessarily rely on this for my SPF, it's nice that it has that added benefit. But aside from that, this is such a nice liquid blush that's really easy to apply, and it sort of shears out so you can build it on top of itself and you don't have to worry about going overboard, similarly to something like the Rare Beauty liquid blushes that start off super pigmented and you kind of have to dial it back, but it just looks so seamless. And same thing with the Say Dew blush. These have that gel texture. They're super easy to blend into the skin. I would say have a light medium amount of pigmentation. I know that some people find that these can be a little bit greasy on them, but if you have these and you're finding that that's the issue, I have found that this goes on top of powder, like my loose powder, my finishing powder, flawlessly. I feel like I have found the bronzers that I really love, and I'm really understanding what I look for in bronzers. These are both from LYS. These are both the bronzers in the shade Harmony. I find that the bronze tone is very neutral on my skin, so it's not orange, it's not red, it's not muddy. It is the perfect bronzer tone all year round for myself. I love that the powder is buttery, it's smooth. I love that the cream is slightly on the like thicker side, but it's easy to blend out onto the skin. Then of course my Makeup by Mario Shaping Serum. If you want something that looks like natural skin, maybe something you can wear by itself or on very lightweight makeup days, this is really great. But also it's super versatile because you can use this kind of to bridge the gap between your complexion products and then something like a bronzing powder. Although this is sheer, it gives that extra dimension that I feel like sometimes is required to make, you know, the bronze look a little bit more natural, which is typically what I'm looking for when it comes to bronzers. For contours, I really only have two. The Too Faced Chocolate Soleil contour. This one is going to be more on the cool tone of contours, but I find that it still works for me. I love to use this just in the areas that I feel like I want a little bit of extra something to kind of cut maybe my cheeks, to maybe define my jaw a little bit more. It's still really easy to blend into the skin, which I was saying was very important. And then the Haus Labs contour stick. I wasn't entirely in love with it the first couple times I used it, but the more and more I used it, the more I kind of understood where this had a place within my makeup routine. This is going to be slightly more creamy and thin, and because of that, I felt like it blended almost too easily. But in the same way that the Makeup by Mario Shaping Serum kind of acts as that bridge, this one does the same thing, but in terms of contour versus in terms of bronzing. For setting sprays, of course, my One Size On Till Dawn. As someone that has oily skin in a hot and humid climate, I can wear this on an everyday basis, but if you are someone that lives in more of a dry climate, maybe a cold climate, what have you, I feel like you could still wear this if you want like the ultimate setting. It's definitely a heavy hitter, but it is for sure a game changer for myself. And actually, my next one is one that I recently emptied. It looks so beat up, but this is the Danessa Myricks Blurring Balm, Liquid Blurring Balm. I just got the mini one because I wanted to try it out, and I finished this so quickly. I was using this all the time. This gave me almost the same amount of wear time as my One Size On Till Dawn, but it felt like more of a natural setting spray because it is a regular spray. It had a very fine mist, and because this also has that upslide in it, it does absorb the oils as you're wearing it. My skin just looked less oily, and for some reason I felt like my makeup, although I would have like shine, it still looked pretty much perfect underneath all of my oil, and I felt that was the case every time I wore this. If there's one specific category that I feel like I have a lot of, it's lip liners. So this one I just kind of trusted my gut, and I went with the first ones that I thought about that really stood out to me, and of course the Glossier Buff Lip Liner. The shade is a perfect contouring shade. It does dry down on the lips, so I do get some pretty good wear on it, but I also love that it's nice and creamy on the lips as well. The Makeup by Mario lip liners, I think that they have so many shades, which makes it really easy or maybe very difficult to find your perfect shade. I have so many of these, and there are very, very slight nuances to them. So I think these really shine in terms of shade. It does come with that brush on one end, and it's a very usable lip brush. And then you have the pencil, which I find is nice and creamy. You can buff this out with the pencil. You have a lot of playtime, so you don't have to worry about this becoming just a hard film. And then the MAC lip liners. I'm sure that if you love makeup, you've had one of these in your collection at one point, and I've used so many of these. It's not going to be the longest lasting, but there's something about a MAC lip liner in terms of the nuances of the tones and the way that you can really match it with lipsticks and lip liners that just, they make me personally gravitate towards them. I love a good lip stain. I feel like there's so many really nice lip stains on the market, but again, I just kind of went with my gut here. And the first ones I have to talk about, and you guys are not going to be surprised, the Violette FR Lip Nectars. Not only are they hydrating, but they do stain the lips really well. The color tends to last very nicely. It fades very naturally throughout the day, and I think that they stay very true to the shade. If you guys are familiar with like glossy lip stains, you know that they can tend to darken quite significantly on the lips, but these I feel like are very, very true to their color. And then I have the Kulfi lip oil oils. These are so good. They have so many shades now that I find are super wearable for so many skin tones. Some people will wear this as like a lip mask and then wipe it off, but I like to wear this as a glossy lip stain and let it fade and stain my lips throughout the day. These are some that do tend to darken when you put them on the lips. So you just got to make sure if you test these out to let it sit, let it dry down, and then that's like more of the true tone. I think that these look so juicy and glossy on the lips, and your lips don't feel overly dry after these fade either. And the third spot is going to go to the Huda Beauty lip pen stains. My favorite shade is Rosewood because I find that this is the perfect contouring shade for my lips. And when it comes to lip pen stains, that's typically what I'm doing with them. I'm contouring my Cupid's bow. I'm kind of shaping out the actual shape of my lips instead of relying on this as looking like a lip liner, if that makes sense. I like to use these in a very diffused way, and I love the flocking on the tip because I find that it doesn't deposit too much of the liquid at one time. I like that this is easy to get a lot of area, but you can also like wait a couple seconds and blur it out with your finger and get such a natural, such a beautiful contour on the lips. Of course, one of my go-to lip balms, Idem Le Chou Chou lip balm. It's hydrating. The metal tip applicator is cooling, but the thing that stands out to me the most are going to be the shades. I think that they are such nuance, such different lip balm shades that really work for a lot of people. They're a little bit more on the sheer side. It just works so well. And then something that's not necessarily, so it's called a lip balm, but I more so use this as a lip color. The Westman Atelier Squeaky Clean Lip Balm in the shade Garçon. This is such a juicy, wet looking lip balm that again is something that I like to use as a lip color, but it still feels really hydrating on the lips. And then one that I don't have with me, but they're in various bags and in my bathroom and by my bedside table, the Too Faced Pillow Balms. Those are some of the best liquefied lip balms that I have ever used. They actually feel like a hybrid between a lip balm and a lip mask to me, but they do have some pretty decent tint to them, so you can wear them as a lip color as well. I only have one pick for my Lip Plumper, the Dr. Dennis Gross Plump and Repair Lip Treatment. This is just the clear one. They have some tinted versions now. This by far is the best lip prep plumping product that I own. It creates some natural circulation in your lips, so your lips do get naturally flushed and they do look very plump. It's not long lasting, like throughout the day my lips will just go back to normal, but to start off with lip prep, it is very hydrating and it does start my lips off very plump. 3 lip oils. So again, one of them is by my bedside table, you guys, the City Beauty lip oil, and it's kind of like this thicker jelly lip oil texture. It feels very nice and hydrating. It has like a sweet mint scent to it, and whenever I use this lip oil, I notice a significant decrease in having to use like an exfoliating scrub on my lips. It's definitely expensive, but I get my money's worth and it for sure works for me. And then the Haus Labs lip oils, specifically the orange one, I feel like is so underrated. And these lip oils in general, I think, are just so underrated and not talked about enough. I like the slip of this. It's a thinner lip oil, but it does feel nice and hydrating on the lips. It's not going to be the most hydrating, but this is going to be something that I reach for if I want some color, but I want to prioritize comfort on my lip color that day. Definitely gonna go and reach for one of these. The orange tone, I don't know how to describe it, but this really turns into like the perfect tone on my lips. It gives a lot of wet shine and it's easy to reach for because it doesn't feel heavy and goopy on the lips. And then the Milk Kush lip oil, I don't have this anymore. I did finish this one up, but I loved this. It's definitely a thinner oil again, but it still felt really hydrating. I loved the green one, which I believe was just mint, like a sweet mint scent. My only con is that the packaging did end up cracking and like leaking, which was terrible, but I really did love this lip oil. It was one that I felt like I could reach for whenever I wanted some slight hydration. Some lipsticks. So I talked about these, the Kulfi lipsticks. I think that these are so underrated. They have this satin finish to them, so they look slightly hydrating on the lips, but they stay put. They have a little bit of thickness to them where it doesn't slip and slide and just disappear on the the lips as you're just going about your day. It does come off like a traditional lipstick if you're eating and drinking and stuff, but because it does have that satin finish to it, it's very easy to just reapply and not have to fuss over. And the shades I think are so beautiful if you're someone that's looking for more neutral tones or like nudie tones, but you do have more medium tan skin tone. The Merit lipsticks, when I first started using these, I thought, okay, they're pretty, but I didn't realize how much I actually love using these as foundational colors. So I love using these with lip combos with a lip liner and then topping it with a gloss. They have a bunch of different finishes now and textures, but the regular signature one is definitely a top favorite of mine because it does have a little bit of hydration and slip to it, but not enough to where it's just, again, going to disappear on the lips. I think the shades are really nice and you can really work with them and get them to look different each time you wear them because they do tend to be slightly more sheer. So it's not high impact pigmentation right off the bat, which is something that I kind of like about lipsticks because then I can mix and match and play around with them. And I find the Merit ones are really nice for that. And lastly, I want to touch on the lip glosses. The Lawless Forget the Filler Plumping Lip Glosses. These are unbeatable, you guys. There's something so special about these. While they are plumping, I don't find that they have that plumping feeling to them. So they look juicy, they look really nice and shiny on the lips, but it's not overly so. When it comes to lip glosses, I find that a lot of them can feel slightly drying once they kind of fade on the lips and you wear them very often, you know what I'm saying? But with the Lawless ones, I feel like they actually keep a little bit of hydration on the lips. The formula is more traditional lip gloss, but it's not as sticky as some lip glosses can get. I do feel like this is very comfortable, and because it is slightly thicker of a texture, it lasts on the lips. And then we have the Say Glossy Bounce, which these are a lip gloss lip oil hybrid, so there's absolutely no stick to this. It really feels slick, but it feels very substantial on the lips at the same time. I have this shade in Kiss on the lips. This is definitely my go-to. It just adds a little wash of color. I can't get enough of these. These feel like a thinner version of a liquefied lip balm, but they give you really nice shine without overdoing it, and I love the amount of pigmentation in these. They're sheer, so you can use them by themselves or with a lip liner, but I also like that I can use this on top of something more significant like a lipstick without completely changing the look of the lipstick. And then lastly, Fenty Gloss Bombs, specifically in Hot Chocolate and Lemon Lava. Those are my go-tos. This is going to be your more standard lip gloss, but they have, I would say, medium pigmentation, and because they are a thicker lip gloss, they last on the lips all day long. They're really easy to reapply. If I wear this too often, I do find that my lips do feel a little bit dry, but nothing that, like, you know, a lip balm underneath wouldn't fix. You're bound to find something that you love from the Fenty Gloss Bomb collection. So those were all of my top 3 products in every single category for high-end and luxury products. I hope that you guys enjoyed this one. Again, if you want to see the drugstore version, make sure to subscribe to my channel, and I am going to link everything down below for you guys. I'm gonna leave a video right here that YouTube thinks you'll be interested in, and I will see you guys very soon. Take care. Bye.